We read this book recently, fantastic.
Yep.
Both loved it, and I think Nate will touch on it in a little bit, but basically just the book touches on a lot of different things in terms of the subconscious mind, God, the universe, manifestation, really regardless of any terminology we use, it's all the same thing. It's different avenues or mechanisms for the same principle. So I think they're pretty interchangeable
100%.
based on whatever you believe.
100%. And so the book, I mean, I don't even know if we've told you the book of the fortnight, but it's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Now, I think when Joseph Murphy came together and decided to write the book, I think the intent behind it was to combine a number of components, right? So it's psychology with the spiritual, with then the practical action that you need to take, right?
Yep.
And I think he was the first to do that. And as Callum mentioned, he actually Joseph Murphy wasn't focused necessarily on like religious doctrine.
100%, right.
Like it wasn't just like, because that's how it was for a long time, or it was like, this is what it's like by the book. Like you got to follow it religiously, do this.
The commandments, this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was more focused on the law of belief and the power of the mind, right? And your belief system. And from there, how and what can you do with your life when you
utilize those.
When you utilize that.
Yeah.
And you realize how powerful your belief system is.
Yep.
Right? And it's really interesting because we grow up and we know this, but from a religious standpoint, from a school standpoint, like an educational standpoint, we are told certain things at a very young age, which shapes our belief system.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
Every single, part of society is trying to shape our belief system. And so, you wonder why certain people are the way they are. It's because from a young age, their belief system was influenced by something or someone.
Exactly.
So that's why I think this book is powerful, and the concept of, well, we can't really control what our belief system was when we were 5.
How we were conditioned before we could intentionally direct it.
Exactly.
Right? 100%.
That's out of our control, right?
And to add on that a little bit, exactly what you were saying, where you're conditioned from a young age. So until around about 7, you mainly operate from the theta brainwave state. And that's comparable to hypnosis or to just before sleep and waking. So right, exactly as you were just saying, you don't have any conscious directive over that. So whatever you're imparted on, whatever you're told by education system, family, friends, media, whatever, that is what you will take in and actually form as your belief system.
100%.
And then that'll run you because, you're not taught how to change it. You don't know you can.
Exactly.
So until you actually do the work to change that, that's going to run. It's like the quote that we had at the event the other day. Until you make the subconscious conscious, it will run your life and you'll call it fate.
100%. Exactly. And that's why I think that when we get to that age where we start to have a bit more autonomy over our life, right? Our late teens and then early 20s and then 30s, 40s, etc. You realize, like, when you reflect and you realize why your life is the way it is, it's usually a direct consequence of your belief system from that early age, which you might not have had as much control and influence over, right? But then you read a book like this and you're like, well, I'm actually in full control of that belief system. And if I want to change our belief system today, you can start changing it. You're not going to completely be able to change it in a few months.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't undo
some,
40 years of conditioning in... Maybe you can, but it's harder. Right?
It's 100% harder. So it's something you got to stick with, but you can make the decision to be intentional about what you're feeding your mind and what is formulating your belief system. Obviously the concept is that if you can understand how powerful the subconscious is and you can learn to then guide that, your life is just going to be transformed.
Yeah.
Right? And we're talking about things like breaking negative habits, limiting beliefs, right? Certain statements that people maybe said to you at a young age that now defines you.
Yep.
Like, you're not a good public speaker. You're shy. Why, you need to do this. You need to be a doctor. You need to be a lawyer. Don't dream big. Things like that. Fear, anxiety. It's really cool because the book touches on all this stuff and how at the end of the day, you're actually in full control of that. So
Yep.
if it's something that you're not happy with, something as you, Callum, you're not happy with how you are behaving, right? You get up on stage and you freak out, or me, Nate, I get up on stage and I freak out. Well, I'm in full control in terms of fixing that.
Yeah.
Right? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. Something that they touch on in the book a lot is those principles, and he talks about something that you just said that I really like is that the more that you actually understand how this operates, the more that you're able to direct it
100%.
to then make those changes. So something that we will talk about, which will allow listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with this, we can give them the tools and the practical ways to apply it so that they can then make those changes intentionally to direct it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is I want to go through a few chapters, and then we'll just give our thoughts, and then we'll wrap up. But here is a quote that I find really interesting. It's your subconscious mind doesn't argue. It simply accepts what you repeatedly think and feel and then creates it. So that's almost something I want to print out and put on my wall. Your subconscious mind does not argue, right? If you're sitting there and you're affirming to yourself, and this is going to tie into how the mind works, but if you're sitting there and you're constantly affirming to yourself that you're a loser or that you're fat or that you're this or whatever, your subconscious mind's going to be like, all right, cool, Nate. That's exactly
Facts,
what you
bro.
are.
We'll make it happen.
100%.
Yep.
It's exactly what you are. It's going to accept it, and then it's going to create it. It's going to put me in situations where I feel certain ways, where I feel like a loser, and that's what it is, right?
Yep.
And I think that's actually the basis and the foundation of this book. Your subconscious mind is going to agree with you.
Yeah.
Whatever you repeatedly say
Yep.
and affirm and how you behave,
Yeah.
it's going to be like, yes, sir. And it will continue to give you scenarios, circumstances that are aligned to that thought process. Do you want to
100%.
touch on that?
Yeah, it's so powerful. When you first hear that and actually really understand it, it really gives you so much power to then be able to actively take action on it. So with what you were saying where it doesn't argue, that's true. And it's something that you might have heard in either other speakers or books, is that the body can't tell the difference between an actual experience and a thought. That's why if you're thinking about maybe a time that you had to do public speaking and you were anxious about it, you'll feel anxious because your body literally can't tell the difference between I actually have to right now go out on stage and I'm nervous about it, or you're just thinking about whatever, you failing, something going wrong, things that you're afraid of, whatever the case is.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the subconscious doesn't argue, a great quote as well that the book says that I really like is that so whatever you tell the subconscious mind, it has to do. That's just a universal law. It doesn't argue. Whatever you say it will affirm. So you can think of your conscious mind, your thinking mind, as the captain, and the subconscious mind is just the ship. It doesn't care if you're directing it towards an iceberg or towards $1 million. It's just going to do the work to progress you and move you forward there. And exactly like what I was just saying at the beginning, where there's a lot of different mechanisms that you can understand this through. And you're saying that if you think that you're a failure, or you think that you are unhealthy, or that you're poor, you're going to put yourself in situations that reinforce that. Now, there's a couple different avenues through that. Number one would be situations. So you maybe, if you don't have the confidence or the self-esteem based on the way that you're thinking to actually believe that you can be wealthy, then you're going to make decisions that are financially irresponsible. So you're going to find yourself going out all the time because you're not going to be able to say no. And then in terms of health, as I was just saying, not only are you going to make decisions that influence that, such as eating in a bad way or not being active or, not getting enough sunlight, different lifestyle choices, also your literal physiology actually responds to your thoughts. So exactly as what I just mentioned, where if you're thinking anxious thoughts, you're going to feel anxious. Your body has a physiological response to the thoughts that you think. And that can even, I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty of the scientific side of things, but literally based on the thoughts and emotions that you have, genes are up and down regulated. So they will actually change what proteins they create, which then influence your cells on all this way. So you can literally think yourself into being physically unhealthy based on the thoughts and feelings that you have.
Yeah, and the book does touch on, we probably won't go into that in too much detail.
That's right.
Because it's a bit of a I wouldn't say controversial. It makes sense to me, bro. Like I do believe that the body can heal itself. I believe that the subconscious can heal itself, heal the body. But it could be controversial because a lot of people are like, no, well, if I'm sick, I need medicine. I need the traditional physical medicine. Right. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not opposed to it. It's just can be a bit controversial. But the book does touch on healing yourself. Through how your thought process, how you're thinking and what the subconscious is actually vibrating.
100%. And the thing on that, even irregardless of the health aspect, but just any habit or area that you want to improve on based on this principle, is that it's not just always as simple as the way that you think and feel and what you tell your subconscious, it's going to happen just if you're sitting there. This is something we talk about all the time, and I know we've talked about in previous podcast episodes, is that you also, in cases, have to take action in order to do it. Absolutely. So I'm not necessarily saying that just by thinking you can heal anything or just by thinking money's going to come to you, but it will give you the foundation to then be able to act in accordance with that kind of belief at the bottom level, and then you can do things that reinforce it through taking medicine, eating better, pursuing mentors that are better in the financial space, making better decisions about how you spend your time, etc.
100%. So look, let's talk about how the mind works, and we've literally just talked about that on a high level. But look, as you mentioned before, and you used the ship as an example, where it's like you've got to kind of direct it. The ship's going whether or not you're doing anything, but you've just got to direct it. It's either going towards a iceberg or it's going towards $1 million or whatever.
You're either asleep at the wheel, it's doing its thing, or you're...
Exactly, right? So the idea that the subconscious operates like fertile soil, right? And it's going to grow whatever seeds that you plant. And the seeds are your thoughts. So whatever thoughts you implant in your brain is going to grow. Okay, so as you mentioned, it doesn't really judge, it doesn't analyze, it doesn't do any of that, it just executes. So I think the key takeaway of how the mind works is, well, it is going to execute without questioning what you are putting in there. Right? And I think that's really important. And it's interesting because a lot of people who spend a lot of time with me will know that I try my best to be very careful with what I actually verbalize because of how quickly me verbalize something actually manifests. And that's just come from years of knowing how powerful my subconscious mind is. Because I believe my subconscious is very powerful, I've actually programmed it to have a real quick response rate to what I verbalize. For some other people, I mean, if think about it, if your belief is that you don't believe in this stuff and you think it's woo-woo, this, that, whatever, and you don't actually give credit to your subconscious mind, then why would things you say manifest immediately? Because that's what you're programming yourself to believe. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's interesting, and people who are with me on a day-to-day basis, who are close friends of mine and my partner and all that, they can vouch for what I'm talking about. Like, I will say something and we will literally go to Eastland, we will go to West, we'll go wherever, and it will happen. Right? It's really interesting. And this is why, obviously we talk about affirmations, and I have a whole story of how I program my subconscious mind to the point where it is now through things like affirmations. But this is why repetition and emotion and your belief system is really important, okay? And it impacts the subconscious. So let's go into how to actually get the results you want, which ties into affirmations, clarity, emotional intensity, that sort of thing. Why do people fail, right? Because we can have this conversation, and even when we post this and we post clips, a lot of people are going to be out there and be like, oh, but this doesn't work for me. Oh, but yeah, cool, like affirmations don't work for me. I affirm once every month. I affirm every now and then. But it doesn't work for me. So what would you say to someone like that? Because there's always going to be someone like that.
It's so funny because in terms of what we've been discussing here is that whatever you say and think about will be a seed that you're planting that'll then germinate within your subconscious and come about. And you were just saying that you have conditioned yourself to believe and understand so deeply the power of your subconscious mind that all of these experiences happen and you're able to steer it.
Almost instantly, by the way.
Almost instantly, very, very quick turnover.
Yeah.
So by people saying, oh, affirmations don't work for me, what they don't realize is, remember, the subconscious doesn't judge. Whatever you tell it is going to happen. So them saying that is acting as an affirmation for themselves. They're actively affirming that they have no control over what they
100%.
do and what happens to them.
And it's like just this circle that just doesn't end, because for as long as you sit there, now I've been through it, because I used to be like that, and then I kind of went through the journey, and now I'm at where I'm at, where whatever I say and believe will actually manifest.
Yep.
And depending on the scale of it, I mean, if we're talking about something that's like millions and millions of dollars, and I have a naysayer come to me and be like, well, how come you don't have millions and millions of dollars? Well, number one, you don't know what I have. Number two, the question is, well, is my belief system and the way I'm vibrating aligned with that, like $50 million? It doesn't mean that it's not going to manifest, but am I actually aligned with that? Or do I actually have to put the years of work to get aligned with that?
Right.
And then it's going to manifest.
Right.
But a lot of smaller things happen almost instantly, because it's a lot easier for me as Nate to believe that someone will compliment me or I might get a free coffee than it is for me to believe that I am going to win $50 million.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot less work and vibrational work that needs to go into believing that I'm going to find a car spot straight away than a $50 million. Now, I'm not saying I can't get there, but there's just
100%.
It's a different level of work that goes into both.
Yeah.
So I think when we're talking about results and we're talking about manifestation and actually seeing a tangible result from what you're putting in your subconscious, clarity is a big thing. And it's a reason why in the past and why currently I feel like I'm not able to succeed, because of lack of clarity. Clarity is a big thing. Now, when it comes to manifestation, when I am manifesting a specific thing and I know what I'm trying to manifest and I have clarity on that, it comes a lot quicker than something I don't have clarity on.
You're right. 100%
So,
you're right.
for example, when I was, let's just use it as an example. If I am trying to manifest something like, well, when I was trying to manifest something like a relationship and love, I was very clear on what I wanted. I had a list, I knew exactly what I wanted, and clarity was like crystal clear. The clarity was crystal clear. When it comes to something like financial freedom and wealth and business, this is just a struggle I've had. Trying to get clear on that is really hard because there are so many different things that come my way. And so I struggle to have a crystal clear definition of what that looks like and how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's Tyco, there's podcasts, there's, the other business that we're doing, there's just so many things, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm just aware. I'm self-aware that this is part of what's stopping me from getting there, because I don't have that crystal clear path of what I need to do and which business avenue I'm going to take.
Right.
And that's just a really good example.
Right.
I mastered one thing, check. What I'm struggling with in real time, like this is real time, bro, is that I just don't have clarity on the avenue that's going to get me there. And that's okay, and I'll get there. But I find that really interesting. The second thing, I'll touch on all these and then give your input. The second thing is emotional intensity. Now, with the business stuff and the financial freedom stuff, I have emotional intensity. I do want it bad enough. I just don't have the clarity. With the relationship stuff, I had the clarity and I had the emotional intensity. Check. Then it's limiting beliefs. Am I weeding out limiting beliefs? With the business stuff, I'd probably say 70% I am, 30% I'm not. With the relationship stuff, I got to a point where I actually didn't have limiting beliefs. Check. Am I missing anything? So clarity, emotional intensity, avoiding limiting beliefs, which comes through affirmations and stuff like that. Am I missing any of those three things, components?
I don't think so. I mean, to tie into it, it's just the confident expectancy in the fruition of the intention that you're having. So hold that end goal in mind, and then that's
yeah. So
like,
so that would
give up how it's going to come to you.
100%.
Yeah.
And we'll come to that, but that's absolutely, that's important. And I think that when you are careful of your limiting beliefs, that actually helps with that. Like if you don't have limiting beliefs and you know it's going to come, because that knowing that it's going to come is always going to be there as a default unless you have limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, great.
So back to what I was saying. So check clarity, check emotional intensity, check no limiting beliefs. And what ended up happening is I found my dream girl and I'm in a relationship with my dream girl. Right? The business stuff, I don't have the clarity. I have the emotional intensity. The limiting beliefs is like 70-30. Okay, well, that's why I don't have an avenue yet where I have that pathway to financial freedom. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's really interesting to categorize my life and be like, what have I been able to manifest fully? And were my behaviors and actions and belief systems aligned to this formula?
Yeah.
Did I get
that's great.
green check for each of these things? And yes, I did. And that's why I got it. Do you see that comparison?
Right.
What are your thoughts on all that and why people fail? And those three components of actually manifesting, and do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is a very powerful concept, and I love the idea exactly as you're saying, where if you line up all of those, then that's really when it's going to actually come into your life. But you have to be clear on it. In terms of minimizing the limiting beliefs, I think something that the book says, which I really liked, was that you don't need to actively get rid of it. All you need to do is actually replace the thinking and conditioning you had that put that in to begin with. So in order to turn a negative into a positive, all you need to do is actually imbue the mind with positive. Absolutely. So by thinking and focusing and feeling that, that's then going to kind of go in, planting the seeds that will then germinate into the belief that will allow you to act in accordance with it.
100%. And just can I add on that? Because I say this to everybody, not everybody, but the people who have had these conversations with, and I always say that. I always say, you can't destroy energy, right? Can you destroy energy?
No, you can't.
You can't. And
you
it's
can
the
transform
same,
it.
You can transform
That's all you
it.
can do.
Exactly. And I always tell people who might be struggling with negative thoughts is I never, ever, when I have negative thoughts, which we're human, we're always going to have negative thoughts.
Right.
I never attempt or try to destroy the negative thoughts because you can't.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
And that is in itself a negative thought and perspective on it.
Sure. Right.
So that kind of in a subtle way reinforces it as well.
Yeah. So thoughts, whether they're negative or positive, it's just energy. In the same way that you can't destroy energy, you can't destroy negative thoughts. And so what you need to do is realize that energy flows. That negative thought coming in is eventually going to flow, but the more you give it attention, the more it's going to stagnate there. And so you've got to do everything you can to let that thought flow. And you can't let something flow if you're giving attention to it.
Right.
Right? And so the best way to take attention from negative thoughts, what did I say? The best way to take away attention from negative thoughts is to what?
Is to focus on positive thoughts, is
exactly.
to recondition it.
100%. Is to focus on positive, and not just focus on positive, but there's actually a ratio where for one negative thought you need, let's just say 10 positive thoughts. So you need to drown it with positive thoughts.
Yeah.
But you can't sit there thinking that you're going to completely destroy that negative thought or that negative belief.
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
You've got to find a way to drown it out with positive. And, there are a number of ways of doing this, but, the most obvious one is through affirmations and through your self-talk.
Yep.
And there's a really good book, and we should probably come back to this book because I read it.
Sure.
I read it years ago.
A while back, yeah.
Years ago. You know what book I'm talking about?
100%.
What is it?
What to say when you talk to yourself.
What do you say when you talk to
one of my
yourself, right?
favorite books.
So that really talks about self-talk, and what you're telling yourself. And so that's a really obvious way. There's other ways like meditating, visualization, things like that.
Things you consume, even positive content,
100%.
movies, podcasts.
Absolutely.
Whatever the case is.
Absolutely.
Yep. People association.
Yes.
Yep.
All that stuff.
All that
right?
stuff.
So you're so right. Like your environment's really important because you could be the most positive person. And I want to talk about if you're happy to open up to this, but
Yeah.
you could be one of the most positive, bubbly people, but if you're in an environment that is the opposite of that,
Yep.
good luck. Like
100%.
you will be okay for a number of months, and then you're slowly going to, like quicksand, you are going to be,
Yeah.
just what am I
Dragged
going to say?
down.
Dragged down by
Yeah.
that environment, and that's why we're so big on being in environments that are positive and uplifting.
Yep. Absolutely.
And are focused on a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, because it's really exhausting when you're around people who are the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And who are in a fixed mindset
Yep.
rather than a growth headspace
yeah,
mindset,
big time.
right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a few thoughts. So, in terms of the initial subject matter that we were talking about, in terms of imbuing it with positive in order to replace the negative, I think something that makes that easy to do and a great thing to have awareness around it is number one, you said you can't control or destroy negative thoughts. That's true. You can't control that they come up. But the first thing is if you have awareness around all the things that we have been talking about, where everything that you focus on and intentionally put into your mind, your subconscious will embrace that and then act on it. So if you have that awareness, you can't destroy the negative thought, but you can realize, I don't want to be ruminating on that because it's going to enact it and reinforce it and make it true. 100%. So that gives you that urgency to then focus on the positive. And I think the other thing, which I think really is the same thing, but was just to focus on that. So another example that he uses, as well as is fertile soil that you're implanting a seed in, is imagine that the thoughts that you're thinking about and ruminating on and habitually reinforcing is material that you're building your house out of. You don't want it to be using crappy materials. You want to imbue it with positivity, health, happiness, goodwill, all of that. Now that was my first thought around the first subject that we were talking about. The second, and the caveat to this I'll touch on, but something that also the book mentions is that because of what we're talking about, where everything that you consciously focus on is then going to go down into your subconscious and will then be brought into life, what that means is that if you're telling me something and you're trying to insult me or be negative, even if it's not intentional, if I don't actually let that change my thoughts and go into my conscious mind, that isn't going to then sink down into my subconscious mind. So it's not going to influence me.
Absolutely.
So if you say to me, bro, I hate your yellow jacket, that's going to have no effect on me. This isn't a yellow jacket. I don't believe that. It's not going to have any resonance. And in the same way, you're talking about a really positive person. If you say to them, you suck, you're ugly, you're unconfident, if they know for a fact that they look good, they are confident, it's not really going to affect them because they're not going to let it go in. But the caveat to that is you still don't want to be around an environment like that, because if you let it slip, it can have an effect. It's still not maximized to the most productive way that you can be. If you're around a positive environment, they're not going to be saying that anyway. Naturally, they will be feeding into you and lifting you up as opposed to pulling you down.
100%. And it's interesting because I want to tie that into this. The strong foundation, right? Building your house with strong materials. For me, what that means to me is the years that I went through reprogramming my mind and my belief system to be solid and to believe that I'm worthy and to believe that I am, abundant and worthy. Every good thing, everything is always working out for me. That is one of my key affirmations, and I say it to myself all day, every day. Everything is always working out for me. I am always attracting good things. Always, right? So the years that I put in fixing that foundation where I have a strong foundation, I have a lot of people say, so they don't say this, but they kind of like, when something bad does happen to me, they'll be like, so how come you manifested that? Or how come, I thought this or I thought that.
Right.
They think that nothing bad is going to happen. Well, no, the storm is still going to come. The storm is still going to come, but I have a strong foundation.
Yeah.
So my ability to bounce back from that is going to be a lot greater than your ability to bounce back from that storm if your foundation is not strong and the material of your house is not strong. So doing this inner work and taking years to actually get your belief system to that point, which I know you have done as well.
Oh, yeah.
That does not mean that bad stuff is not going to happen.
For sure.
Things are going to happen.
Yep.
but the bounce back rate is going to be a lot higher and a lot quicker. And I have found that, things still
Yeah, you're
happen.
right.
I still get in car accidents. I don't actually, but things still happen. Like my
Right.
car got hit a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Does that mean I'm sitting there affirming that bad things are going to happen? No, but life happens. Now, do you know what my reaction was when my car crashed? And keep in mind, I was on the way to an appointment that I was going to be late to. And my reaction was, because of how strong my foundation was, I was like, it is what it is. Let me do what I got to do. Took photos, got the guy's insurance details, called my brother, and I said, hey, because we used to work together, I need you to drive me somewhere. He said, okay, everything worked out. I got to my appointment on time. The rest of the day was perfect. Figured out the car, went back, figured out the car, all good, right? Like, for anybody else, I can almost guarantee if they didn't have that strong foundation, their entire day would have crumbled.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas mine didn't crumble. Mine just stopped. The energy stopped there. Like, that was the extent of the bad energy, and it stopped there, and it didn't continue to follow me throughout the day. Whereas like a lot of people, and you know this, right? When you wake up in the morning and you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, they always talk about this, he woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Right.
And you stub your toe, and then your coffee spills, and then you go to work, and you
get
someone
yelled at.
you get yelled at,
Yeah.
someone cuts you off in traffic, the day just continues to like
Just
it's
snowball in that
100%,
negative,
bro,
for sure.
100%. And that is because your house is built with weak materials.
Love it.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Love it, yeah.
And that's really important,
great.
because I want to make it clear, like, it's not that, like, when you get this stuff right, it does not mean that your entire life is going to be magical and nothing bad is going to happen. Yeah. Like, things are still going to happen. Bad things are going to happen, but they're not going to be as bad in the grand scheme of things, because, you know why? Because everything's working out for me.
100%.
And that is my dominating thought.
Yeah.
That is my dominating thought.
Yeah.
Everything is always working out for me. And so, yeah, car might hit my car, this might happen, but because my belief system is everything is always working out for me, everything just works out.
Totally.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Totally. I love that.
Yeah.
And
What are your thoughts? And then we'll find a way to wrap it
then
up.
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good, because I'm glad you touched on that, actually. That's an important point, is that things will still happen.
Yeah.
And it's not that based on the inner work that you do and the affirmations and even the habits, things that tangibly, physically will change it through having more money or being more physically fit or being in a better environment. Things are still going to happen. It's not that you're controlling everything that happens to you, but you're controlling your own capacity and perspective on how to handle that and how to move forward through it.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So exactly as you just touched on, if you don't have a strong foundation, something happens, you crumble. But if you're strong, you can not only handle it better, something I remember I touched on a while back is based on the perspective you have, you'll literally notice more opportunity, you'll have better memory and emotional capacity to handle it. But also, you'll even be able to literally see it as an opportunity. You'll be able to notice the positives in it to get out of it. So something can happen, but maybe then you think, and in a particular way, you could think it's a bit delusional or it's a bit over the top, but you could even think for your car, I needed to have something fixed anyway. Now this is a chance to do that. Now I can get it detailed and cleaned, for example, whatever the case is.
Absolutely. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, my car ended up getting a nice clean out of it
right.
as well.
That's right.
Like, I mean, it's pretty. That's a stretch, because I also didn't have a car for about probably a month.
Yeah, a month or so.
Dude, everything worked out.
always
Everything
works
worked
out.
out. Even in that month, like, I didn't even need my car as much in that month for whatever reason. And
Right.
people who know me, I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
And everything worked out. You know what I mean?
Yep. Another example of that would be, for example, you were mentioning earlier an avenue through business. If you're manifesting 50 million, something bad could happen, for example, if you're doing stocks, maybe it crashes. If you have the mentality that we're talking about, where we have the belief that it works out and you will attain X amount, it's not that things aren't going to happen and you'll always go up and up, but you can, if you have that perspective, you can learn from it. You'll be stable and you can think, I should stay stable with it, or I should have done in a different one, or research the market more, whatever the case is. So you can use it as a way to actually have a stepping stone to move forward.
Absolutely. I think there are so many other topics we can touch on. I mean, a really interesting one is, when it talks about the right for you to be rich, which we
So
won't
good.
go into too
So
much
good.
detail, but like how, Joseph Murphy, obviously, he challenges the idea of like the traditional viewpoint on money, and even religious viewpoints on money and wealth, and how money is evil and money is the root of all evil and stuff like that, and why people think the way they think about rich people, for example.
100%.
Right? Well, I don't want to go into that too much because I actually want to finish on forgiveness, and that is a huge one. I think let's end on that.
Yeah.
But do you have any quick thoughts on? Because we've kind of already touched on the belief system. Like
Right.
from a young age,
it all applies to everything, right?
yeah.
Everything we're saying can be.
But use that as an
directed towards
example.
these.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's so true that we are raised in a way to believe certain things about certain things. And money, as an example, like money is evil. And so we grow up not wanting to be rich because we believe that fundamentally it's evil. And if we are to be rich, then we must be evil,
Yep.
right? So do you want to quickly touch on that? And then we're going to wrap up with forgiveness because
I'm so glad you
this
brought
one
that
is
up.
huge.
Such
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something that the book mentions, this is a new word that I learned from the book, is called syllogism. And it's a conclusion that's reached from two other reference points. So what you just said was, money is the root of all evil. I have a lot of money. I must be evil. And what we already said, the subconscious mind doesn't judge. So if you're able to, in the same way that you could have affirmation and manifest and have an identity around a specific point of an area. So say if it's health and you want to focus on specifically like your arms getting bigger, you can kind of manifest and be thinking on and even do the actions to focus on that. But if you form an entire identity around that concept as a baseline, so just you are healthy and in shape, then the mind isn't going to judge that, so it's going to have a syllogism of that as an entirety. It's going to say that you are fit, and therefore all of your actions will align with that as an entirety, right? So that was one point that I learned. Now you were asking me about the conditioning from a young age. Oh, and your right to believe stuff. So really, also what aligns with something you said was that if you don't have any limiting beliefs, you're already going to believe in your attainment of that and move towards it, right? So what he touches on, which does go against a lot of the conditioning and religious beliefs and everything like that at the time, was that everybody has the right to wealth and to success at the highest level of whatever their natural inclinations are. So you should, because whatever you focus on will inevitably change your identity, the way that you feel, and then what happens is that you should really believe and feed yourself the best and highest level of success in all these ways. So in health, in wealth, in abundance, in relationships, and that then allows you to act out the best version of yourself in a way that also benefits other people. So if I want to be really wealthy, and I also really align with helping people, and those combine, those are really, those work well with each other. So if I'm able to attain one, then I can use that as an avenue to do it.
Yeah.
So do you have any other thoughts on that? I don't know. I'm sure I can think of other stuff, but...
Not really. I didn't want to touch too long on that part. But no, not really.
Stuff comes anyway.
Yeah.
Anything we think of, we'll touch on. But I think that was the main thoughts we had.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, look, I want to wrap up with forgiveness because this is a huge one. I think that it impacts a lot of people. And people just don't get it. And the Bible talks about forgiveness a lot. I think a lot of religious teachings tie into the need to forgive.
But I don't think that they tell you how to actually apply that.
I think the Bible...
I think you know more about it than I do. But
No, the Bible absolutely does tell you how to apply it, but it doesn't really explain the psychological, like why it's necessary and the psychology behind why forgiveness is important.
Right.
So the forgiveness is releasing negative mental patterns, right? It frees your subconscious and removes blocks. So if we start from that core idea, or from that concept, a lot of people think that forgiveness is for, like, if you do me wrong and I forgive you, that is for you, Callum. When really it's actually the opposite of that.
Yep.
And I've realized this through forgiving in the past. You feel a lot better when you forgive. Like you in yourself it actually does. It has more of an impact on you than it does on the other person.
Yep.
And so forgiveness heals the forgiver more than the offender, right? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I totally agree with
it's
this.
such
And
a good
I can
point,
go
mate.
on for a little while, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so you're definitely right. So it is about removing that negative block. And really, I'm glad that what you touched on was that it actually is so beneficial for you, not just the person that you're forgiving. And a lot of that ties back to also what we've talked about whatever you actually let in consciously and ruminate on is going to happen. So if you're ruminating on what someone else has done, maybe they have actually wronged you. Or maybe it's just a pattern of, maybe you're just an angry person, you find reasons where it wasn't intentional. But you not forgiving them and ruminating on what they've done and thinking bad towards them, all that does is plant those seeds in your own subconscious.
Yep.
So you're going to find more reasons to be mad at other people and find those same experiences and circumstances manifest in your own life. And that's something that I've worked on recently. Is not necessarily forgiveness, but just the awareness around that if I'm getting angry at someone or thinking about something they've done or that I'm annoyed at them, all that does is hurt me.
Absolutely, yeah.
To a degree, it would hurt them if I'm lashing out at them, whatever the case is.
It hurts you more, though.
But it hurts me more.
Yeah, absolutely.
The long-lasting psychic, emotional. Yeah.
So it's interesting because there's a biblical or religious twist on forgiveness. Oh, not twist. You know what I'm trying to say.
Like a passage about it.
Passage about forgiveness. Not passage. Sorry, because I'm not going to quote anything right now. But there's an idea.
A concept within it.
Of religion, of forgiveness, right? Now we know we're going over time because my brain's like,
yeah, we'll lose it, event.
No, it's good. But they don't really. It's interesting looking at it from a point of manifestation and a point of clear energy and vibration, and if you're wanting certain things, how lack of forgiveness is actually preventing you from getting there,
right?
Which I don't think is touched on. Because
Right.
forgiveness is touched on from a lens of, if you want to be a good person, forgive. Right? But it's never really looked at from a standpoint of, well, actually, not just if you want to be a good person, not just if you want to release negativity within you, but if you want to actually be the person that you are destined to be,
Yep.
you need to be someone who's willing to forgive.
Exactly.
Because for everything that you don't forgive, you hold that vibrationally within you, like you just mentioned.
That's right. And exactly. So what I just wanted to say that exactly aligns with that is what we literally just the previous topic concept that we were touching on is the idea that we all have a right to be the kind of most expressed version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So by either getting judging or envious of someone else that's succeeding in a certain way, you focusing on that is going to stop you from being able to attain that because you're thinking, oh, they're doing well in this, I'm not. And then that means that you're not going to be doing well in that. It's going to affirm that, that you're not wealthy or you're not in a relationship, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So exactly, that's it touches on that so well.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting to see it from this lens, like forgiveness from a psychological manifestation, vibrational lens.
Yeah.
And you realize how powerful it is because, and look, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you need to associate with the person who's done you wrong.
Yep. So something he says is you should love everyone, but you don't have to like everyone.
Absolutely.
So you can actively be, I don't enjoy the way that they operate or handle themselves, but I still have love for them
100%.
and wish the best for them.
And you know why that's important? Because you loving and wishing the best, and that is actually impacting your vibration.
Yep.
Whether you like someone or not, that doesn't
make
no emotion
doesn't
to
make a
that.
difference. Yeah.
There's no emotion tied to that.
Yep.
So it makes literally no difference. But if I am malicious in how I feel and I want to get back at someone and I've got this evil vibration and emotion within me, that's not a good thing for anybody. Definitely not a good thing for me.
Yeah.
But if I'm clean energy with this stuff, and I'm like, I have, I want the best for this person, good intention, clean energy, but then I don't like hanging with this person. That's not an emotional response. That's actually a very logical, rational.
Yep.
Well, Nate does not like hanging out with this person.
Based on your own values, you don't want to do X, Y, Z.
Exactly. And I think
That's right.
that's really an important
right.
part as well.
What he mentions, because we were talking about practical application, and what he mentions in terms of how to forgive others and then how to forgive yourself, I really like. So it's a lot of what we've just covered, but how to forgive others is to truly wholeheartedly wish the best for them in whatever area, and understand that by doing that, you can forgive them, and it loosens up your own energy. And what he says is the way that you can know that you have forgiven someone is if you can think about them and truly wish them the best, whether generally or maybe if it's in a certain area of whatever you're ruminating on. If you genuinely say, I wish the absolute best health, success, abundance, happiness for them, and you don't feel any like, oh, that person, then you've forgiven them.
That's so interesting.
But then how to forgive yourself, which is another way to clear those, is already what we've covered, which is just to align yourself with the universal law of whatever you're feeding yourself will happen. So replace the negative with positive.
Yeah. No,
Simple as that.
100%. Yeah, that's interesting. But I think, look, I mean, obviously in 45 minutes, an hour, I don't know how long we've gone for, we're not going to be able to get through every single component of this book.
Yeah.
But it is a really good book. It is like, if you can read something like this with an open mind and realize that there are actually people like me, like Callum, who have lived this, like I've fully lived this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Your life will genuinely change. Like you will see things happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It might not even happen in a month. But if you're persistent with it and you continue to apply the concepts of this book, your life is going to eventually change.
That's right.
For the better. So yeah, man, that was good.
It's great.
We'll probably wrap it up there. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. We're going to start off every 2 weeks for now.
Yep.
And then we'll see. Maybe we do it a weekly thing. But yeah, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time.
See you then.